I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Evan Stewart. It is Monday and we have a weather alert day for tomorrow because of a developing storm system that's really going to give Hampton Roads a bit of a glancing blow. The rest of the Commonwealth, especially north and west of Richmond, will see much larger impacts than we'll see here across Hampton Roads. So technically a weather alert day goes into effect at 9 a.m. We'll run through midnight, mainly because northern areas will still likely see a late changeover from snow over to rain, because we are looking at a wintry mix and some wet snow to start things off tomorrow morning, eventually changing over to rain for a lot of us. It'll just take a little bit longer for some of the northern areas. So what do you need to know? You need to watch for hazardous travel, especially in northern areas, again, where we could see that accumulating snow. And that accumulating snow is expected. As far as the general impacts, sort of follows along with our thinking. South side, northeastern North Carolina, impacts will be negligible. We could see a little bit of snow. That will likely quickly change over to some rain, and that'll wash away any kind of accumulation. And even then, we're only looking at maybe a dusting if we see anything. Again, I think the rain is really going to impact that. Up across the eastern shore, peninsula, middle peninsula, northern neck, interior south side, looking at some minor impacts. We will see some accumulating snow, but eventually that rain will mix with the snow and it'll change over to rain, and that'll mean washing away a lot of that snow. North of Richmond, over towards Tappahannock, especially west of Richmond, back towards Farmville and Lynchburg, Charlottesville, Stanton, Roanoke, looking at a much larger impact, possibly some significant impacts, especially back towards Roanoke, where we could see some icing causing some concerns, and not just from the storm tomorrow, but another one that comes through on Wednesday. So taking you back to this morning, had some rain around, even a few snowflakes mixing in, didn't amount to anything. And the cloudy skies gave way to some clearing into the afternoon and the evening, and that'll be the case as we go through the remainder of the evening and the early part of the overnight. The next storm system, not well organized. You can see not a big swath of rain or snow out there with this storm, just starting to get organized here from eastern Oklahoma through Arkansas into western parts of Tennessee, a little bit of snow up through Missouri, pushing over into southern Illinois. That'll come together and work its way eastward. And temperatures for a lot of the area, it's going to be borderline. So even the snow that we see is going to be sort of that wet, squishy snow, that slushy snow that really doesn't accumulate well, or if it does accumulate quickly with the rain moving in, it'll quickly melt as well. So let's time things out through the overnight. Clear skies, not causing any problems. And even into tomorrow morning for the start of the commute at 6 a.m., looking at cloudy skies. Notice through North Carolina, until you get well inland and even through Virginia Beach, temperatures well above freezing. That's why we're not looking at any kind of significant issues, especially in the North Carolina. Here comes that first round of snow working its way in, crossing over by around 8 and 9 o'clock. Fairly light, maybe some moderate snow in a few spots inland. But notice right near the coastline, looking at mainly some rain. And temperatures are going to be above freezing. We'll have an easterly wind coming in, and that'll come in off the water. And what that serves to do is in the middle layers of the atmosphere brings in some warm air. So that'll melt that snow, change it over to rain. Once you get a little bit farther inland where temperatures are close to freezing, likely looking at some snow and some accumulating snow. That even includes parts of interior south side around midday and up through the middle peninsula, but right along the eastern shore and especially coastal south side of North Carolina, looking at some rain. And that warm air will eventually work its way in and start to push northward. So by the afternoon, looking at some moderate snow right along the Chesapeake Bay, and that will likely accumulate across interior parts of the peninsula, say from Newport News up towards Williamsburg through James City County and New Kent County, King and Queen County through the middle peninsula, northern neck. But even into the afternoon and the evening, notice that rain and snow line continues to lift northward. So even areas that pick up a couple of inches of snow, it'll change over to rain. That'll wash away a lot of the snow. So the accumulation map that you'll see will be mainly before the rain moves in. I think, again, the rain will wash a lot of that snow away, especially across the peninsula. Once we get to the middle peninsula where it'll snow longer, might likely accumulate a little bit more, it'll take a little while for that rain to wash away the snow. But I think that'll even happen during the overnight. Temperatures will be borderline, but notice a solid area of rain by 11 o'clock Tuesday evening, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Temperatures go up. Looking at rain through the day Wednesday, temperatures into the 40s. Maybe a little bit of break by midday, but more rain moving in during the afternoon and evening. So we'll see a couple of rounds of rain. The one area that'll see some of the bigger impacts here right along Interstate 81 from Charlottesville down towards Roanoke. The potential is there for some accumulating ice and an ice storm for them So that's where we could see some more significant impacts. Again, not too much here across eastern Virginia and North Carolina. So again, this is the snowfall map mainly before the rain comes in and washes a lot of it away. So don't expect to see all of this accumulating snow last very long, especially once we get that change over to rain, and that transition to rain is expected. Rain across North Carolina, maybe a dusting across the south side or interior sections of North Carolina. But again, I think that'll wash away pretty quickly, and it might not even be allowed to accumulate just with that quick change over to some rain. Could see a couple of inches across the peninsula, middle peninsula over towards the eastern shore, but even that will eventually get washed away by the rain. It's, again, north of Interstate 64 up towards Tappahannock through the northern neck, especially into interior sections of Virginia. We could see 2 to 4 inches plus, maybe even 6 inches back here towards Farmville and Lynchburg, and some icing along Interstate 81. So again, the biggest impacts from this storm north and west of Richmond. We'll see some impacts here, and that's why we have that weather alert day in effect for tomorrow. Now, I mentioned that icing potential. Notice back here along the mountains of North Carolina and Virginia, and even just west of Richmond, back towards Lynchburg, the potential is there for some accumulating ice. And once we start to see ice getting close to that 1/4 inch, that's when we could start to see some icing causing some issues on some tree damage, power line issues. And once we get over 3/4 of an inch, like we're seeing from about Roanoke down towards Galax and even getting close to Boone and some of the higher elevations of the North Carolina mountains, getting close to 3/4 of an inch, that's when we start to look at some substantial issues with tree damage and power outages. And this is just through 48 hours. So this takes us into Wednesday evening. There could be a little bit more rain coming in and some freezing rain Wednesday night, and that could add on to some of the total. So a couple of rounds of some icing potential out through western Virginia and North Carolina. So that's where some of the biggest impacts would be. Again, the rest of the area, we're looking at snow, especially north and west of Richmond. And again, any snow around here will quickly melt and change over to rain. So for tonight, partly cloudy, 34 degrees with that northeasterly wind, and that'll pick up tomorrow. Morning rain, sleet, and snow changing over to rain first on the south side. It'll take a little bit longer in the day to work its way up through the peninsula, the middle peninsula, and the northern neck. That will eventually happen into the evening. High temperature around 42 degrees, and then occasional rain, and those winds pick up out of the northeast even more. That'll help melt some of that snow in some of the northern areas. 36 degrees and more rain on Wednesday, 48 degrees. Northeasterly winds continue at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Thursday up to 62. Looking at another round of rain, so certainly that is going to melt all of the snow. Cold front moves through late Thursday, dropping us back to 42 degrees on Valentine's Day, Friday. So a chilly day. By the weekend, we're back up into the 60s, looking at another round of some rain, maybe even pushing 70 degrees on Sunday. If there's enough moisture left over into early Monday morning, maybe a brief early morning snow shower before things clear out. Mostly sunny on Monday. Another cold day with a high temperature of 43 degrees.